Jessica Rose.
Oh my God.
You do it.
No, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, you have to.
No.
Good morning, Erika. It's so nice.
Oh my God.
You're so polite. It's true. I called Jessica Rose on the phone this morning, and she's always like, "Hi, Erika." You always say people's names. I like that about you.
Yeah.
That's a nice thing to say. It's polite.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's a good intro.
All right. Why are you so dressed up today, Jessica Rose? Do you have something fun happening?
I do.
Oh, what?
So lately here, I've been getting invited to random PR events, like to my Food 52 email, like directed at me. And I'm like,
wait, what do you mean?
I'm like, do you know what I do here? I'm like, I'm not on the content team. I'm not on the, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that they realize.
So someone's like, we're having, well, I'm sure they realize. So someone's like, I'm having a PR event.
They're like today there's like a restaurant opening in Bushwick. That they were like, oh, do you want to come to this restaurant opening? And I was like, I mean, free food, why not? Like,
good for you, Jessica Rose.
I don't think they realize that I'm not like part of the content team or part of like the editorial team. I think they're just blindly like inviting people.
Well, that's great. Good for you.
Because I get Lauren's emails.
Oh wow,
and
so you're gonna double
Lauren's
the
getting
invite.
invited to the same things. So I'm like,
so are you and Lauren going to go together?
No, I don't know. I mean, it's going to Lauren's like old Food 52 email.
Okay, got it.
So like, I think they just like somehow got our Food 52 emails.
Well, that's so exciting.
And, like,
okay,
these
so you have
PR
an
people are
event
just,
after
like,
work.
mass sending me invites.
Well, who cares? It's free food.
Oh yeah, no, I'm going.
Oh, all right. Well, that's amazing. That's
going.
what Jessica Rose is doing tonight.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's exciting. What are we doing this week, Jessica Rose?
So this week, we have. It's kind of like a light week because it is July 4th.
July 4th is Friday, right?
It's Friday, so we have like a shorter week, which is nice. Monday, really just like the main weekly meetings, weekly BP, weekly media.
I have a meeting with Substack. I'm very excited about that.
Yes, you have a meeting with somebody from Substack, which is exciting. Weekly performance call. You have a call for one of our potential shows on Monday as well.
Okay.
So that's exciting. Sorry. Losing my voice.
What's that media meeting at 1:30?
That's your weekly media leads meeting.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah. And then Tuesday, you have the long exec meeting.
Yeah.
And then we are doing company-wide. We're doing, I don't know if we want to talk about this, the bug hunt for the website.
Oh, yeah, that's so fun. We're launching Food 52. So we're relaunching Food 52. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's
and we're doing it
Tuesday.
we're doing it as a meeting.
Well, this is the bug hunt. So this is for everybody to go through and like check
their
bugs on the
this.
website.
I love this. That's great. That's great. That's awesome. I'm glad we're doing that.
Yeah, so that's happening Tuesday.
We should feed people. Are we going to feed people when we do it?
We can.
Can we do the bagel thing or do pizzas instead or something?
I think we might have pizzas today.
We have pizza today?
Katie Lee sent us.
No way.
Yeah, one of our
so
guests
happy.
that we had on the podcast, Katie Lee, she sent us a
I
like
love
little PR
Katie
package.
Lee.
And she sent us 2 pizzas and they were like we got Julia got a like PR package from like I don't even know. I don't want to say the wrong thing, like Crusade or something. And they sent her an entire giant pizza oven thing that they were going to test today, and they didn't know that we had them. So I was like, guys, we have 2 Katie Lee pizzas.
2 pizza though with all of us here. That's good. I'm still ordering a cheeseburger. I'm going to have a cheeseburger. That was the best thing I've heard all day. Okay, well that's exciting.
And then Wednesday we have a really, really long, like 5.5 million hour meeting for the
salespeople. Salespeople got to share what they're doing the rest of this year. I'm excited about that.
Really long meeting for that. We're filming work again, a lot of one-on-ones. And then, next day, Thursday, kind of the same, just a lot of one-on-ones. You have your,
nobody's going to be working that
bi-weekly Vice meeting. Yeah, I'm sure everybody's going to be checked out. But, that's pretty
okay, so we got to work on that a little bit. Okay. Awesome. I need to go see my mom. I have an event the night of the 1st, right? Is that on there?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I can do that.
Cool.
All right. Thank you, Jessica Rose. Have fun tonight.
Thank you.
It's so fun. Hi, welcome back to work. We have we have an okay episode for you today, I guess. I am a little hungover. I just have to admit, I didn't drink any water yesterday, which happens to me a lot. And then we had a big event last night and I didn't drink at the event, but I find it like a little bit depleting and exhausting. And then I had 2 margaritas and didn't drink any more water. And today I'm just struggle bus. So This is just a struggle bus episode. What do you do when you're hungover at work? I usually puke, but I'm trying to break that habit for myself. But all right, things that I'm thinking about. We have an interesting lady on the podcast today. She is a fashion psychologist. I think we got the pitch from her, or Jessica Rose got the pitch from her. Anyways, what we talk about is like your identity at work. And I actually think identity at work is a really interesting thing, because I do think people change as people over time. I think workplaces have different dynamics. I think there's like this osmosis factor of things where you end up looking like people you spend time with. I don't know, like you end up wearing the same sneakers, and then you wear the same style. And then I was just thinking at Food 52, like if I walk down the rows, do people dress alike? The salespeople all dress alike. Salespeople all dress alike. The content people kind of dress alike. And the finance people don't dress alike because they're remote. Mm. And the people in between are just kind of a blend. Do you think most workplaces are like that?
I think so.
I think at Barstool, everybody dressed exactly alike. Like it was like Barstool t-shirt, Barstool hat, Barstool shorts. Like that's all anybody wore at Barstool. But anyways, I do think the idea, one of the things we talk about is being intentional, and the idea that you want to be purposeful with who you are, and what you have to say about yourself, and also what makes you comfortable, I think is a big, big, big thing at work. So, all right, so that's that. Tips and tricks today. I am needing of advice. I'm in a jag where I'm losing everything. Like I had to go say hi to Frances downstairs today, and I was like, Frances, I'm just in a jag. Like I lost my wallet. I don't know where my phone is. I can't find any of my glasses. Like, so I would love any advice that anybody has for staying organized. I think the summer's kind of tough because you get, it gets hot out. Your brain kind of goes blotto. You're like, ooh, I'm thinking about vacation. Or you're like, I'm trying to get so much done, and you lose your mind in all that activity and thoughts. So I don't know if people have advice for staying organized and staying organized when you're busy and or your mind's in a million places. I'm all ears.
Now work.
All right, so we're going to do current events. All right, first thing is a depressing stat. I saw a depressing stat yesterday. I actually screen grabbed it, which is Title IX is the only piece of legislation in America that guarantees equality for women. How crazy is that?
Wow.
So I thought that was crazy. So speaking of inequality, companies are now less willing to take risks on non-traditional candidates on boards. There are fewer women appointed to boards. I think the number is going down year over year. Obviously, there was a big peak during 2020, 2021, Me Too, DEI, like all the initiatives. Those are no longer, and I actually think now we're in a period of a little bit of backlash and also a period of conservatism. I see it in the boards I'm on, which is like we're looking for a financial expert. We're looking for proven board members. And when a company starts to get really focused on more traditional board members or more traditional roles, or feels less pressure to be more inclusive, you have less women, you have less minorities, you have less quote unquote risky candidates, which I actually think is a bummer. I really think the more people open up their aperture, the better off things are. Axon has a really diverse board. I love our board at Axon, and part of what makes our board awesome is there's all different people from all different backgrounds of all different, genders, races, colors, perspectives, math scores, you name it. And like, that's what makes it special. I look at my career, like anytime I've gotten a job or gotten the chance at something, it's because someone opened up the aperture. And so I think it's a little bit depressing that the number of women being appointed to boards is going down. I think that may be because there's less willingness to be more inclusive, or there's less pressure on inclusion. But I also think we're in a period where companies are under even more pressure for profitability, and the roles people are looking for on boards are more traditional, like less marketers, more finance people. So anyways, that's our first headline today.
The CMO of New Balance got fired because they had 15 years of decline. So the new guy came in, and what he did was they had 70% of their advertising budget going towards discounts and deals and getting people to directly buy shoes. And then 30% was going towards influencers, sponsorships, endorsements, cool factor. And so what he did was he flipped it, and he made it 70% influencers, and then 30% was, hey, come buy the shoes. And so over the next 18 months, they just kept losing more money. And then on month 19, it just shot up like a gun. And they're having a complete rebirth right now. They're crushing
it.
Yeah, it used to be dad shoes, but branding happens at a delay. He changed the behavior, and it took 18 months. And so you want to dig the well before you're thirsty.
So I love this piece. I found it on Instagram. I think it talks about change in brands, and it's a branding video, but it's also a good statement about how hard work pays off into results, and it's not instantaneous. So I love the story of New Balance. I also thought about New Balance as uncool and a dad sneaker. I spend a lot of time looking at people's sneakers. Like I walk and commute and take the ferry, and I'm on the train. I always am looking at what people are wearing on their shoes, and I always try to count proportionally what brands you see. You see New Balance a lot. I think On Cloud is obviously like eating so much share right now. Like you used to see Nikes, now you see On Clouds. But the thing that I love about New Balance, and I think about a lot for Schoolhouse and for Food 52, is it's a legacy brand. They tried a lot of things. They weren't really working. And then they were like, you know what? Like, let's stop focusing on the sale. Like, let's stop doing the discount. Let's stop yelling at people to buy our stuff. And let's make our stuff cool. Let's make our stuff cultural. Let's make our stuff in the conversation. Like, when I watch tennis, I think I like Coco Gauff. I'm becoming more of a Coco Gauff fan. Coco wears New Balance, and her outfits are so sick. So I think what they've done is amazing, but I also think there's two good takeaways from it. One is it takes time, and the new CMO is probably lucky he didn't get fired, because the 18-month mark is when CMOs get fired, and he's lucky it waited till month 19. And then two is when you tell a story and you're part of a conversation, or you're part of a community, and you're part of a culture, that will always drive more results than sales. And I actually think this is where retail and consumer products are really going to change, which is it's not the merchant discount, here's how you run a promo strategy. It's more, how do you make brands part of a conversation, and the brands that are part of those conversations will win. So I loved this video. All right, so our next topic is about AI note takers. I've actually had a big turnaround on AI note takers. I don't like AI note takers.
Why?
Jessica Rose, I have a note taker that shows up in my meetings and goes to you. Can we take it off? I think they're dangerous.
Explain.
Because one, I think people forget that the AI note takers are on there. Okay. Two is you forget who's in the meeting, or you don't forget, and then when the topic gets sensitive or it gets a little bit controversial or it gets difficult, then that information is out there and can go to anybody else, which I think is sneaky, probably happening a lot. Like, I tend to speak quite candidly in meetings, and I also want to feel like the meetings that I'm in are safe spaces where we can have the right, real conversation. And now with all the note takers, I'm a little bit like, ooh, I don't know where this information is going, and I don't know what somebody's going to do with it. So I actually am having, my head's a little bit in a pretzel on the AI note takers. We saw this funny post on Instagram, which is from a guy named Chris Baki, I want to say. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I've started joining Google Meet every 30 seconds early. When you join early, everyone's virtual note takers join early too. I spend the first few seconds screaming about how I'm on the Titanic, we've just hit an iceberg, the end is near, and I need immediate assistance. I then do the rest of the meeting normally. When the meeting ends, everybody gets an emailed transcript where the AI summary is, Chris hit an iceberg, is trapped on a sinking ship, and general Q2 pricing updates. I love that. I think that's actually so funny. But I don't know. We'll see. It is funny where it's like the war of the note takers. You know, like you see
it's like every
it's like
meeting,
join.
Every meeting is like double the amount.
Double the attendees.
Yeah.
There's always like 7 people you don't see on the screen. It's all the note takers. Yeah. But I don't know. I think it's interesting. Like obviously it's super efficient. It's a great way to have obviously a virtual record of a meeting. I do think though I do think the societal pieces of this, like one thing I think is so interesting about, like, when I was in my 20s, speaking of being hungover, like we would go do horrible things all the time, stupid things, reckless things. And we never worried about anybody capturing it or making us look stupid or making you feel ashamed or regretting it after. And it was a very free way to live. And when you read about like, I used to work a lot with alcohol companies, and alcohol companies are really worried about that 20-somethings don't really like to get drunk because, 1, alcohol kills you, but 2 is they don't want other people recording them. Like they're worried about the evidence. And I actually think the same thing's going to start happening at work where people are worried about the evidence. And I think because then it can be taken out of context or it hits you later on. So I don't know. I think this is an interesting topic. Speaking of AI,
these 2 guys just sold $7 million worth of products on their live stream. But here's the crazy part. Neither of them are a real person. These are 2 AI avatars that stream to 13 million people for 6 hours straight. And this right here is the new definition of printing money. Listen to this. So the guy on the right is named Luo Yonghao. He's super famous in China for live social selling. But on this stream, he tried something completely different. He worked with Chinese company Baidu to build his own AI avatar. You see those movements? How he's tapping his fingers on the desk and moving his arm? Baidu's AI pre-generated 8,000 different gestures, kind of like a movement database that his avatar could pull from to seem more realistic on the stream. They also used AI to ingest 13,000 product descriptions, and this meant that Luo and his co-host could have a full AI conversation with perfect product accuracy. Price, features, deals, all of it. He was even taking live questions from the crowd on stream, all powered by AI answers. But here's the craziest part. This stream did $7.6 million in revenue in just 6 hours. That's more revenue than most of Luo's human streams. And that's the big takeaway. This is the future of live commerce, AI avatar driven selling. And I know it seems silly today, but there is a massive opportunity right here.
One, I think this is fascinating because you really think about, one is longevity and just the stamina it takes to run a 6-hour stream. Like I think about Stu Feiner. Like every time I think about a video like this, I think about Stu Feiner, which we should show. I love Stu Feiner. But the idea that someone's cloned themselves, essentially, they've mimicked all the movement. There's a movement database. There's a product database. There's a description database. There's a pricing database. There's clearly some type of prompt script to run a 6-hour live stream. But when you think about, if you think about in technical production terms or historical production terms, all the producers and the camera people and the energy and paying the talent and hair and makeup and assistants and props and kind of moving through the stream. And now you're just programming a bunch of prompts and it runs it for you. And in this case, drives, $7.5 million. It's pretty staggering, but you also see the potential for how big this is going to be. And I don't know, I think it's super interesting.
Now work.
So I'm a fashion psychologist, accredited by the British Psychological Society. And I work with everything intersection with fashion and the mind. And we are looking into how being mayor affects how we behave, how we feel, how we interact with people. And it's super fascinating. And I work besides that as a transformation coach. So I'm helping people to utilize what they have in their wardrobe to, become the best version of themselves.
That is amazing. Okay, so what are the biggest mistakes people make? I bet it's that they don't wear things that they're comfortable in.
Almost, pretty much, yeah. I think people don't dress intentionally enough. That's what I noticed the most with clients and in general with people that I talk to, is that they just throw on whatever they think is appropriate, and then they are feeling not in harmony with themselves.
Huh.
It kind of calms them to kind of
fidget
not feel balanced.
Yeah.
It's like an overstimulation almost. So yeah.
So if you are in the middle of your career and you're looking to make moves and grow and expand your responsibility, how should you dress? How should you think about how you dress?
Well, it's always good to know where you want to be, but also you have to first figure out who you are and how you want to be projected. The one thing that I was most surprised by when I started doing my research and I talked with people in the psychological field in any way, was that we all know how important first impressions are, right? But first impressions happen within 7 seconds. To undo those 7 seconds takes 3 hours in intensive conversation. So just to have that in the back of your mind. So you don't want these 7 seconds wasted by projecting someone you are not.
Yeah.
So it's super important to figure out, first of all, who you are, how you want to be perceived, which is especially important for women.
Yep.
And then, try to dress like one step ahead. You don't want to dress like as the CEO if you are just starting your career ladder and you are hopping ahead.
Yep.
So you will be perceived as professional as you're already sitting in that role.
Yep.
Which then leads easier to kind of move towards.
It's so funny. I like clothing and fashion, and I think about this all the time. I also think about it like in my career where I'm a little bit of a chameleon. Like my last job was in sports. I wore t-shirts and ripped jeans every day. This job, I'm like, that's not appropriate here, right? That's not who I'm projecting. I still wear a wool sweater every day. I know who I am. I'm a navy blue wool sweater, but I do think it's interesting when you do start to think about what's the story you're trying to tell about yourself in this place, and how does your clothing. I think this is partly why people start to dress alike sometimes, which I don't love, but I think it happens because you're all part of the same narrative or the same story in the same place. So how do you coach people to be individualistic and have their own expression, but also to fit into a sense of decorum or expectation about what you should look like at work?
That's such a really good question, because it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of solution. If we're thinking about like workplace dynamics and how people need to fit into the context in a way, as you already said, was like, dressing a bit more sporty because you were working in a sport environment. It's just so important to think about the social identity theory. So this theory, psychological theory, explains that we often want to belong to groups because it satisfied our core need for social connection and validation. So we then tend to adopt these norms and behaviors in the group, and that's why it can sometimes feels like very uniform, because it's kind of what the culture or what the
it's like what the core wants. You want acceptance. You don't want to be left out in the cold.
Yeah, and it's not building either, because you need to work oftentimes in teams, and so you need to kind of be functioning in like a team setting. But that's why it is super important. So circling back to your question, it's not that easy to say like, oh yeah, you just be who you are and you show up in like a full Barbie attire top to bottom when you are working in like, let's say, a finance institute where everyone is wearing black and blue. But there are subtle ways you can kind of show your identity and bring like balance to that. Mm-hmm. So it can be you wear like a funny pair of glasses.
Yeah.
You wear your hair a bit different.
Yeah.
Or wear a red lipstick instead of a nude one. So the like small details that make you feel, when you look into the mirror and you feel like you're not masking, like you wear your corporate self, let's say, that can already help with not feeling this discrepancy between like, oh, I'm wearing a costume just to be safe for my work setting, while still being true to yourself. Yeah,
no, I love that. I think it's creative. Like, I really like when you see nurses or people who wear uniforms. Like, I take the train to work, and the conductors all wear the same uniform. But the lady conductors, their hair is amazing. They've got nails for days. And I'm like, that's a great way of showing personal expression in the space that you've got with the work attire you're forced to wear. So I love that. What about when you're interviewing for a job? Like, I will never forget, I was interviewing a whole bunch of assistants at Barstool Sports, and my assistant at Barstool, who is fabulous, I will never forget what she wore, which was a extremely short miniskirt. I mean, she's a gorgeous, gorgeous person, but she had the skinniest little mini skirt, and it was very awkward because the seating was like this uncomfortable height where I'm basically looking up her skirt in the job interview. Because when the chair is a weird height and you have a short skirt, and it's like, she kept like fidgeting at her skirt, and I was like, I feel so bad for you for your outfit choice right now. But I also love that that's who you wanted to be today. So that's a long-winded ramble, but how do you coach people on when they're interviewing? How do they be intentional? What's the research they should do? What's the approach they should have?
That's a really good question. I think that there are certain rules that are just like, depending on how old the company is that you're going into and how conservative the company is when it comes to dressing norm, that you should like do your research in. And if you cannot find anything online, or you're not like reaching out over LinkedIn or whatever to the people who are working there, you can even ask the recruiter or the person that's interviewing you, like, what is appropriate? What would you expect? Like, are there dressing rules? That's actually a really good question to ask, because it will show that you are intentional about it.
Yeah.
Like, just do your research and try to figure out what the usual dress code is. If you see no women with skirts, then I would probably not wear that very skirt. But even then, try to figure out, like, you want to be confident, you want to be fitting for the role. Just try to think about what outfit has cultural and societal meaning, and then try to tap into that. But there's also a really important thing that I always tell with my client when it comes to like a really important like interview. It's not only about how other people perceive you, but it's also how you feel. Yeah. So you need to dress in a way that you are confident enough that you don't have to fidget with your skirt to get too sharp, or that you are feeling like you're out of sorts and you cannot even focus on the actual meat of the interview, like the actual question. So I always say, like, it's always good if it's in some way or another a corporate job to wear like a blazer, because any structured clothing can give you a sense of authority and can give you a sense of
it's a uniform, it's a warrior outfit. I agree. Exactly. It's so funny. I was wearing yesterday, it's 100 degrees in New York, and I was wearing a sundress, and I never wear sundresses really, except today because it's also 100 degrees. But I had to take my blazer off. I had a jacket that went with it, and I had to take the blazer off, and I was just actually feeling quite vulnerable. I was like, I think I'm too old to be wearing a sundress at work, and I'm outside, and my bra strap is showing, and I was like, and then I was having this imaginary conversation in my head of what if I ran into somebody I really didn't like, and how would I feel in wearing a sundress commuting to work? And I was like, this is a good note to self that I shouldn't wear a sundress to work, because if I ran into somebody, I would feel naked. I wouldn't feel in my armor. It's like Pretty Woman. Like, we should actually pull the Pretty Woman. We should pull the Pretty Woman clip. Do you know the clip I'm talking about? Where Julia Roberts is at the polo match and Stucky, the creepo, is like hitting on her. And she's in this beautiful polka dot, like a beautiful brown dress with the sun hat and the whole thing. And she's like, if I'm wearing like my prostitute clothes, I can take it because I'm in my uniform, but I don't know how to take it like this. And I think that's really emblematic of what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's the aspect of emotional layering, right? Yeah. So you are undressed when you are undressed or underdressed for whatever context. In your case, like meeting someone, if you don't necessarily want to, then you feel like more raw and vulnerable, and clothing can help that amplify that, but also support it. But yeah, it's absolutely a thing. My research specifically looks into how we can utilize clothing to support our emotional regulatory processes. So it's a really real thing.
So if you want to regulate yourself, what are you supposed to wear?
It depends on your starting point. So
okay.
Let's say in your case, you were in the sundress and you felt a bit more vulnerable. then you should tap into like your wardrobe and look into what can help you counterbalance that. So
See,
what
this is
makes
why I
you
wear a
feel
wool
confident.
sweater all the time. Just my emotional regulation.
Yeah, no, like seriously. And the more emotional meaning and the more memories you have attached to certain garments, the bigger is the amplification of that regulation.
Of that comfort. That's probably why people like to wear the same pajamas all the time, wouldn't you think?
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, because
Do you
they
wear
feel
the same
comfortable in it,
pajamas all
and
the
they feel-
time?
no.
Oh, you don't? I have like a favorite pair of pajamas.
I have my wardrobe is not structured like the typical Marie Kondo store, kind of like I have everything product based. Mine is actually content corner based. So I'm need based.
Oh, interesting. So describe, are you okay to talk? Describe that.
So I have like because my entire dressing is very intentional based on my emotional regulation. I have like corners that are need based. So I do of course have my uniform things. Like I know where my slacks are, and I know
Like your underwear is your underwear is your underwear.
exactly.
Okay.
I got like two suits that I feel very much my fashion psychology self. So I have those in one corner, and I have many suits. So I have like one or two suits that are more corporate event like. So they're not in that corner. They're in a different corner. Then I have deep memory corners. So when I'm feeling down and I feel like really not really good about whatever the state of the world, or I just didn't sleep well or whatever, I have my comfort corner. So I'm going into that corner, and then I have like my sweater there. But if I have to, as an example, not only need something comfortable to wear, but I still need to perform for whatever day's work I have ahead. I have a blouse there that is my go-to that I don't have to think about.
Yeah.
I can just reach for it, and I know that this is going to give me comfort while still making me feel confident and supportive for the day.
And then do you have like a fun corner? Or are you having like the I'm feeling crazy corner? What about
Yeah.
like the angry corner? Do you like what's the last corner?
Well, angry corner, I don't really like.
Now,
I
that
try
wouldn't be a
to,
fun corner.
I
Yeah.
try to regulate anger before
Yeah.
I have to dress. So
Yeah,
that's
100%.
I agree. That's real. No, I have a fun corner too. Like I have a very funny like ruching dress that's like full head to toe bright orange.
Okay.
I don't wear that on a regular basis
Yeah.
because it's not.
It's not practical
But
to do
when
that.
But I feel like I need to be super creative as an example, and I need to be like ideation, and I just need to be like in that mindset. The creative corner and the fun corner is a very good tool to step into
Yeah.
to feel a bit funky.
All right, that's amazing advice. My last question for you is how do you I think I shop online a lot, I find it very soothing. I think a lot of women actually find it maybe men too, but I find it soothing. I also think it's a way to dream of, like you look at the seasons and you look at who this character is and could you be that character? And how do you counsel people on that, or what does your research show about that? Which is, I think one thing that's happening, especially in like an era of fast fashion, is you're always buying to be something, but that something isn't lasting. And that to me seems very unhealthy. But how do you see that in your world?
If you're talking about retail therapy,
Yes, I guess I am. Yep.
Retail therapy in a sense is not only environmentally unhealthy, but also for your wallet and for your mind for long term, because you're actually uploading too much into your wardrobe and you end up not wearing it as much because you didn't intentionally shop for it. So I'm a big sustainability advocate. So for me, I always think like sustainability starts in your mind, not necessarily in what you go when you go out. So shop your wardrobe first, see what you have, maybe restructure your wardrobe maybe, and see how you can like find the same document then they from literally shopping your own wardrobe. But also if you browse and you do, I do that too. To be fair, I do browse too because I like to move also look on trend and then need to keep up for research purposes and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's so important to just think about like, first of all, what do you need? And if you are in a big transition period, because most of my clients actually are going through a big transition into a new identity, so to speak, though we're talking a lot about identity formation, then it's really good to actually inform yourself of what things, what character,
who is this person?
Would you like to tap into? Exactly.
Yeah.
And for that, you have to experiment to figure out new dress lengths, new skirt lengths. So that's really important. So I don't say don't do it. I just say do it more intentionally.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's really about the purpose and intention and what are you trying to project. Like, it was interesting. I remember interviewing somebody here, and someone who used to work here was like, I don't know how we can hire that person. They're wearing like a Gucci belt. This was a direct quote. Like, ugh, they're wearing a Gucci belt. And I just was like, that is just such a crazy thing. I'm not like that. I don't hire like that. I'm like, the weirder you are and the more you double down on whatever your look is, I find that attractive. I'm like, I think you're confident and you have a point of view about yourself. I like that. But it's interesting because that dynamic the judginess does exist at workplaces. And how do you coach people to be careful about that? Like, I think it's important to be, one, I think for me, I wouldn't want to work at a place where someone was like, I don't like you because of what you wear. I think if you don't like what I wear or how I project myself, you're probably not going to like me, so it's not going to go well. But how do you coach people to also see that as a warning sign, or to see that as not a rejection of them, but also like, that might not be a good place for you?
Well, as you just said, I mean, that if they don't want to accept you for who you are,
yes,
that's usually a red flag. But also in maybe a newer company, if it's more the case that people are more open to how you dress. But it's super depending on the context. If you are client facing, there is a certain expectation.
Yes, for sure. And a need. Yeah.
So I would just say, if you are going into an interview and you don't know how the other person is like set up in their mindset, try to find a middle ground. You can, in this interview, you can always, it's not only an interview for the company about you, but it's also for you, for the company. So you can figure out if that is a good fit for you. And then on top of it, if you dial it down, let's say if you're very expressive and you're very loud, socially speaking, then of course you can like dial it down a little bit and see that you are fitting more into the norm without losing your complete blah. But and then when you are hired and you're stepping into the company, you can lightly ease more and more parts.
Yeah, you can kind of introduce yourself to it. What about, sorry, last question for you, because I'm also fascinated by this, is what do you say to women who change their look by virtue of who they're dating or married to? Like, because there is a psychology there of, your partner likes you to look like, I always think about Kanye West and that poor lady Kanye West was married to. Like, she's naked all the time everywhere, and I just feel badly. Now maybe that if that's how she likes to dress, I'm all over it. But how do you? Because I do think this happens to women.
It happens to women a lot. It doesn't happen very much to men. That's true.
Although, sorry, can I interrupt you? I think it's happened to Jeff Bezos with the Lauren Sanchez, but people actually think it's a compliment. Like, when the woman changes the guy's look and he looks sexier or more, quote unquote, attractive, people think it's a positive. But then I think it's a double standard for women where you're like, oh, she's just following whatever he says. I don't know. You're the psychologist. What do you think?
Well, if we're talking about the dynamic of the man imposing what you have to wear as a woman, especially if it's very, very clearly uncomfortable for the woman, that is very traumatic and actually very abusive. So that's something that women should have to have a look at. I personally experienced that in the prior relationship where not even like loudly. He never said to me like, "Oh, you shouldn't wear this." He never said that, but he made like this slight diaper mark with like, "You're really gonna wear this, or should you not maybe wear this?" And hey, maybe this is more suitable for that, or whatever. And then I kind of, it's sometimes very subtle and very
it just goes into you deeply. Yeah,
so you have to be very careful because that ingrains very deeply, and it's kind of recoding how you're thinking.
Yeah.
So I think you should never fully lose yourself. Like, you should never lose yourself in a relationship. But of course you are adapting. I mean, me and my husband, we have adapted our style because we've grown together as a couple.
Yep.
but that hasn't happened because he told me I should wear this and this.
Yeah, or vice versa. Yeah.
Exactly. So we are kind of trying to bring the best out of each other. So that's that, and that reflects in how we dress because I dress very intentionally.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that. But I think for people who are feeling like they're in a position where they are consistently getting criticized for what they wear and kind of like in a manipulative way, trying to be pushed into a box of the look that you are just not, you're not, then and it's not feeling the benefit of them trying to get the best out of you. And it should definitely be a conversation to be like, hey, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Is there a problem? Be an open communication about it. And if then it's clear that there are just like a different alignment of like, hey, I'm not really attracted to you, how you dress that way, then maybe you should reevaluate if that relationship is still worth it.
Yeah. That's awesome. How do people find you and follow you and read you? Like, tell people how to find you.
Yeah, so on my website, you can always find me at stylemind.com. I do have a Substack now, so I write a lot about psychology things, everything, even trend things. So that's the Style Mind Edit on Substack, or you can find me through my name, Jennifer Heinen, as well. And I'm on all social media channels as well, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere.
Thank you so much. This was awesome. I could talk to you all day. I love what you're doing. I think it's so interesting. I think it's something that people subtly think about all the time because it is identity. It's who you walk out of your apartment or your house as every day. So I love that. Thank you so much, Jennifer, and have a great day.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Now work.
All right, we're doing strategery. Strategery is churn rate. I don't know that churn rate is strategery. Churn rate is a metric that measures how many customers, users, or subscribers stop using a service during a given period. So if you're thinking about churn, it's really thinking about how leaky your bucket is and how empty your revenue is going to be because you're losing customers. No business wants to lose customers. Some businesses have really high churn, right? When you see a subscription service and you didn't put auto renew, when the year comes up, there's a big level of churn. I would say there's a huge amount of churn with the streamers, right? So you sign up for Hulu to watch the Alex Cooper documentary, then the Alex Cooper documentary airs, you're over it, you unsubscribe, like that's a high amount of churn. There's probably actually a bunch of other categories. Wireless, I think, has a lot of churn. There's some businesses which are really brilliant, which kind of get you, like Uber, right? Like I use Uber, now I use Uber Eats 10 times the amount that I use Uber. Like some companies get you and you never churn, but there's also a lot of businesses that have churn. So churn's an important metric. If you run a business where you're looking at consumers or businesses to pay you, you're obviously thinking about how many do you keep, how many do you upsell, and how many do you lose every week, every month, every year. So that's our semi-strategery word in churn rate.
Now work.
And then that's kind of it. So thank you for listening. Welcome to any advice on having a hangover at work and also how to stay organized. And we'll see you back here next week.